Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Empire State Warrior, and today we're going to be discussing a Tier 8 French premium tank, the FCN 50T. And yeah, I got this tank using some gold that I had saved up from some Canon and Jagdpanzer chests. Yes, I bought crates, don't judge me. And not even gonna lie, this tank's worth it. If you know how to use the tank, it is 100% of the time worth it. What do you have going for you? You have pretty good frontal armor at 120 millimeters on the hull, and I don't know how much is on the frontal turret. I'll have to check. But you also have 8 degrees of gun depression with 212 millimeters penetration and a 6.1 second reload. Meaning you have good DPM and good penetration, and your accuracy is very, very nice. Now you don't have the best of camo ratings because you're such a gigantic tank, and you're 54 tons, meaning you weigh an astronomical amount. You're a huge tank, but your gun, as I said, is nice, and I mean it. This gun is nice. I honestly love this tank. Probably one of my favorite tier 8s right now in the game. I mean, I love this tank. It is fun. It really is fun. Now, the reason it's so fun is because the gun is just so good. And the tank itself just plays phenomenal. Like, you wouldn't expect it, but it does just play great. It really does play great. And that shot, it only says 958, but I did hit a blind shot, accidental blind shot, on the KV-4 that did pen and did do some damage, which was stunning enough, considering the fact that
enemy armor is damaged.
Probably shouldn't have hit, but that issue's staring at me, and he bounces the side of my turret. That just shows you that the penetration on STA-1 isn't very good, but that also shows you that this has some armor. This has some armor. And you're going to see, I'm going to be hold down the whole time. I don't move 90% of the game, because I'm in a good spot. I'm in a good spot. I'm in a good set spot that I ain't struggling with, and I'm hitting my shots. I'm hitting my shots. I'm at 1600. Well, I'm technically at like 1800, and I'm hitting my shots, and that hit 2K right there, 2.2. See, that's a great game already. That's a great game from this tank. Like, nobody expects this tank to perform, but it does. It performs very, very, very well. You really do. You perform in this tank very well because the gun is just so dang accurate. Like, you will hit 99% of your shots if you aim them correctly. And as you see, I ain't wasting shells. I'm looking to hit just about every shell. And that's a high roll of high rolls. 276 damage in that shell. And I'm at 3K right now. And I noticed that the progetto is all alone. So, yeah, when I said 54 tons, when I said that, I meant ramming rig. You literally have such a heavy tank that you can literally ram anyone with it. The tank is that heavy. Meaning that if you ram someone with this, you're dishing out, especially if they're lightweight, quite a bit of damage. So I've done 3,355 damage. And I do get the kill here, because this tank is awesome. Like, it really is awesome. And I hit 4... I know this is the 4K damage game. This is a 4K damage game, because the ramming damage never shows up on either of these. It is a 4K damage game. First game in this tank, and I had a 4K damage game. I just bought it today. Honestly, fantastic tank. Next game. Legit next game. Dropped to 3.6. Like, the tank performs. It really does. It performs very, very well. I have no doubts in my mind that if this tank were to come for sale, I would regret buying it now, because I would buy it then. Because this tank comes for sale quite often for like 5,500, 4,500, 5,000 gold, and it's worth it. If you know how to play a tank like this with decent armor on the hull, good accurate guns with good penetration and decent DPM, this is the tank for you. And it's Okay, let me just reiterate this. This tank isn't slow. This tank is not slow in the least bit. You're not slow. You will get in position very, very quickly. I was hoping he'd go through that little spot, but he never does. So I'm just like, do I leave him? I was like, yeah, let's just leave him. I kind of messed up my camera there, trying to do something, I can't remember. But I do hit the very nice 205 damage shot, first shell right through his turret. And my IS-3 defender does take a big shot there. And I realize there's an IS-3 coming at us. So I pan right through his side. And he does go right through my turret range because he does have good enough penetration to do that. Now me and the IS-3 defender are on pretty much the same page here. And I want to go to T-34, but I have to go for the T-29. And I've already done 923 damage. You see, this is what the tank is capable of. I hit his turret. And I didn't want to repair this, but then I realized I had to repair my true turret. So I couldn't really go without it. So 231 damage on that shot, and I blocked 400 damage, which is a nice amount of block damage already. Especially for a tank that supposedly doesn't have armor. This tank has armor. And let me say a little bit of background of this tank. On PC and console, this tank isn't a medium. It is a heavy. This is a heavy tank on PC and console. I kid you not. You literally are a heavy tank on those ones. I'm not kidding you. And as you see, the armor works. As you see, I'm about to get another bounce from a 225mm penetration gun. And he just bounces. He bounces. Which is hilarious. Like, you don't expect him to bounce. And then he bounces. And then boom. And this poor T-25AT. Like, he doesn't even know it's coming. He has no clue. Because the tank is just a ramming rig. It is quick. Right through his frontal hull, and boom. Easily one of my favorite tanks right now. Because this tank just hits like a freight train. If you ram in this thing, you're hitting like a literal freight train, and I love it. It literally makes my day every time. Now I do miss this shot because the accuracy is good, but it's not that good on the move. I mean, you can definitely up it. But as you're about to see, just this thing's a ramming rig. It really does ram very, very well. Another good game. 3,600 damage. What? No, 3,200. I mean, that's still a good game, and it still is a first class. And the tank just... Give me a second. But the IS-3 Defender and the ISU 152 are both Unicum players. This guy is very good. But I outperformed them both. I'm going to go over the stats right quick. So we'll see what the turret armor is. It's 150 on the front turret. Meaning you have quite a bit of turret armor. But it's kind of like the larva. The little cheeks right there, they poke out right there, the little curved cheeks up in the front right there, are very easily pennable. You can pen those quite easily. The juting sharp sides right there are very difficult to pen. The cupola is quite pennable. Side of the turrets are quite pennable. The frontal hull is kind of good at 120mm, but it's kind of flat, so you can get through pretty easily. And the lower plate is very pennable, only being at like 90mm of effective armor. The sides being at like 80 on the sides is nice, meaning you can get some bounces on them. You can get some bounces on the sides of the turret as well. The rear of the turret isn't that good at being at 60, and the back of the hull of this thing still has some decent armor on it as well at 80mm as well. So the tank has armor. I just wish it had better DPM. Only sitting at 2200 for a medium, and you have decent aim time of 4.2 and a decent dispersion at about 0.32, but you really need better DPM. Like, if you move this tank, you could move this tank from an A tier to an S tier if you just gave it like a 5.8 second reload. Like, people who run this tank a lot would notice the difference because the tank just performs that well. You have 212 on the standard, 259mm on the APCR, meaning you will float through any armor, tier 7, 8, and most tier 9 armor. And you have very, very, very decent, not going to say good, decent penetration on the HE, only at 45. But the shell velocity of all of the shells are very good. The AP shell is pretty good. The APCR shell, it's like 1,600 meters a second, meaning you're hitting everything. It's like a shot reticle. As soon as you fire, it's already registering because how fast the shell flies. The HE shell is a little bit slower than the AP shell, but still gets its job done. Now the damage per shot is 225, 190, and 270. The 270 damage is nice. That is nice. But you usually won't roll there. Like the guns, the 90 millimeters are bad about rolling 250s through 260s, never hitting 270s most of the time. For me anyway. The gun turn limit, you only have 17 degrees of elevation, but you have 8 degrees of depression, meaning you can get some stuff done. And your concealment rating, if I remember correctly, is kind of crap. Only at 11, because you're so freaking big. Like I said, you have good turret armor on every part of the turret, and your view range is good at around 264, but that's without any of the equipment, so I could probably get this thing up to around, yeah, almost 300 meters, which is fantastic. The engine, 1,100 horsepower, and that's with the extra fuel boost. And that's 51 forward, 20 backwards. You have great average speed. Your power to weight ratio is a 20.3, and your hold turn ratio is 48.6. Your turret turn ratio is 43.7. You can boost it. You can 100% boost that. I kid you not, you can boost that. But right now, this is a great tank. And then this helps just very little. Like, honestly, it helps very, very little. But the tank itself is so good. You really do have a good tank sitting in the FCM 50T. And I'm not going to go over the consumables, anything like that, because it's your choice. You can choose what you want on it. But I am going to say this. If you do get this tank, play it in a hold down situation 99.9% of the time. And I guarantee you'll be successful. Anyways, that'll be it for the video. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below. If you have any questions about this tank, please feel free to ask that in the comment sections. And do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to send me any replays at titanwise56@gmail.com. That'll be it for this video, and I'll talk to you guys later.